So I wanted to just talk about some basic stuff. Sometimes we forget to talk about the basic stuff. So I'm gonna do this, facilitate this workshop next Saturday on counsel and communication. And this talk is in some ways a introduction to that. Communication. I was so struck by Eric, what he said last week about, well, I wrote it down, but it's missing. I can't remember exactly how he said it, but that the most important thing was connecting with each other. The Sangha treasure, what he thought the Sangha treasure was connecting with each other and being able to be there for someone else. And that's how I see the counsel practice, as a practice in being there for each other. And also the form that we use, the circle form that we use in governance, which is rather than having one person tell everybody what to do, that we work together as a circle to make decisions and create programs and things like that, which really in some ways takes way more time. Working as a circle, letting everybody say what they have to say and listening to everybody say what they have to say, and then working through the places that we disagree, and at the same time take care of things in an expedient way. It's a struggle to work that way, especially since we kind of like, we say we like consensual decision making, but really we like to have someone who we really trust just tell us what to do. At least that's what I like. So anyway, I wanted to talk about this Sangha treasure, but do it with a little overview of the three treasures, which comes up all the time. All the time we're talking about the three treasures, but really digging into what that means. I tried to find where, where the three treasures comes from, who first started using the three treasures or taking refuge in the three treasures. And I did some research and I couldn't find that, but certainly I think all Buddhist texts use the three treasures, and I could be wrong, but most do. It's very, very fundamental to the teachings of the Buddha. And I use this talk by Bernie Glassman, my teacher, on the three treasures whenever I look at the three treasures. And remind me if I forget, I'll post that to the members and friends list, because it really is a wonderful discussion of what the three treasures are. And he starts off by talking about Namu. And actually we use that in the service we did today, the Gate of Sweet Nectar. I had forgotten it was in there, but in the very first, it talks about being one with the Buddha, being one with the Dharma, being one with the Sangha, which is Namu. He says it's Sanskrit or old. It's an old word, which means be one with. So sometimes we think take refuge in the three treasures. I don't know, it means let them take care of me in some kind of magical way. But what it means is to be it. So we don't use that terminology much, take refuge. We say be it, namu, namo, which is what the ancients said, namo, be. And we also, in the Gate of Sweet Nectar, and Bernie translated the Gate of Sweet Nectar as the Kan Roman, which Choa told me he thought Bernie wrote the Kan Roman or something. I don't know what he said, but anyway, it's an old sutra, but it's considered a new one because it was about in 700 AD that they came up with it. So it's considered a very new sutra. But Bernie did translate it. And he translates Namo as be one with. So later on in that sutra, there's be one with each of the 5 families, the unity, the oneness, the service, and the resources. So the 5 families are all aspects of the awakened being. And what Bernie says in this talk, which I've forgotten about, is all of this is mandala. So the center of the mandala for the 3 treasures is Vairochana Buddha. Vairochana Buddha is emptiness. And then when we talk about the 3 treasures, then the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha come out of that emptiness. Or later on, then Bernie defined emptiness as not knowing. Vairochana Buddha. So during transmission, there's a part of the transmission, I don't know if it's secret, but if it is, I'm telling you the secret now. The teacher becomes Vairochana Buddha, sits on this big chair and rearranges the kesa and becomes Vairochana Buddha. And that's the transmission. And it's kind of amazing to do that because you kind of do become something different, feels different, I don't know. But anyway, so out of emptiness comes Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. And then we have, in our tradition, we have many different ways of talking about what Buddha, Dharma, Sangha is. And when I looked up articles, all the articles I could find kind of were pretty sure there's one way of looking at Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. But I want to give you a little more nuanced view, especially in terms of the Sangha treasure as counsel and circle work and connecting with each other. That's the point of this talk. So the Buddha treasure, and Bernie's, oh no, it wasn't Bernie, it was one of the things I read, said Buddha, whatever the language was then, actually it comes from a word that means when you wake up from a swoon. And I don't know that I've ever swooned. It sounds like something like Victorian ladies did when they just, when they fell in love. But kind of falling in love kind of fits when you just get taken up by something, getting taken up by greed, anger, ignorance, getting taken up by like falling in love, like lust or neediness or hatred or something like that. When you wake up from that swoon, that's Buddha. So that's one way to look at Buddha, is that experience of awakening. And how to define what that is, that's what the koans are about. That's what all the books are about, is what is that waking up? what did Buddha find out? So now we're talking about Buddha in terms of the person. And this is not the first person. Shakyamuni Buddha, that historic figure, is not the first Buddha. So also during Fusatsu, we use Namo. Namo, I think people use both of them. We say Namo, it's Namo we use. We are also one with Buddha, Dharma, Sangha when we do Fusatsu. This is our precept vows. And we're also one with Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. We're one with, first, we're one with the past 7 Buddhas. So Shakyamuni Buddha was not the first one to figure this out, because figure isn't a good word because it involves thinking or something. It's to realize this, because it is who we are. What Buddha realized is the fact of our life. And when we have the lineage charts, if you have Jukai, and do a lineage chart, before the Buddha, there's 7 Buddhas, the 7 past Buddhas. And that represents that there wasn't a first person who saw this. So there were 7 Buddhas before Buddha, and then Buddha. And then we have being one with Maitreya Buddha. And that's the Buddha that comes after the end of this time. So I don't know how many of you know, but Buddhism definitely talks about end times. That there's a big amount of time, which is one thing says it's like if an angel came down every 1,000 years and brushed her wing against a huge rock, a kalpa, which is the time of each of these Buddhist times in the cosmology, that's how long it takes for a kalpa, for that rock to be worn down. So unimaginably long time. But right now we're recognizing that it's a time of decay. Most people do not realize the oneness of all things. Most people are caught up in greed, anger, ignorance, as you all know, as we all know. So anyway, when that ends, then the next Buddha is Maitreya Buddha. So we say being one. That's who is that Maitreya Buddha? So Dogen said, don't think about the decayed time. Take care of now. Take care of this time. So who is that Maitreya Buddha? Who is it that right now chanting in Fusatsu is being one with Maitreya Buddha? It's like who's buried in Grant's tomb? That's you. You are the one that comes after the end of the decay. You are the one who breaks through the decay. So being one with Maitreya Buddha, Manjusri Buddha is wisdom. So again, another mandala with the center being emptiness, or Vairocana Buddha, or not knowing, is wisdom and compassion. Out of emptiness comes wisdom and compassion, and they're slightly different. And wisdom realizes the differences. And that's Manjusri represents wisdom. So be wisdom. And Samantabhadra is, oh man, I meant to write that down. It was very interesting. I forgot now what Samantabhadra is. I'll look that up and let you know. Avalokitesvara is compassion. And then the successive Buddhas. So in the Fusatsu ceremony, we're one with all of them, and we bring them here. We bring all of them here. So Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, being one with Buddha. And Buddha, so Buddha can be the historical figure. Buddha can be, wrote all of this down, and now it's completely gone. I have this written down. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Okay. Sorry. Samantabhadra, Buddha is practice, is meditation, is practice. Being one with Samantabhadra during Fusatsu is doing Zazen. Okay, so the Buddha treasure is the historical figure. It is the oneness or the emptiness or Vairochana Buddha. It is, so there's the historical figure who woke up, then there's what that historical figure found out, which is the emptiness of all things, the oneness of all things. And the Buddha treasure is the images. And some people, especially in the West, are uncomfortable with the iconography and the ritual of Buddhism, but it's part of it. That's what we've been talking about lately, especially studying Zenju and some of these people who are talking about the upset of some of our Asian ancestors and friends that Buddhism in the West is seen as mindfulness and breath work. And the whole picture of Buddhism includes ritual. And ritual includes the images and working with the images and these ceremonies that bring the aspects of these Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. So Buddha is all of those things. Then Dharma. So I talked about wisdom. Dharma, Buddha is about Vairochana, is about the emptiness. Then Dharma is, again, has three meanings, and one is what the Buddha said, what the Buddha found out, what the Buddha said about what he found out. And it's also like this is a Dharma talk. So this is supposedly Dharma, and I'm doing the best I can to make it be Dharma, to talk about what Buddha found out. And it's also everything, all the phenomena, the koan that Kosei is working on for the Shuso Hosen, which it's not too far away and a lot of fun. But the koan is about the sutras are your very life. What are the sutras? It's your life and everything. And it's everything in terms of the differences. There are differences, obviously. So that's, that's the three dharmas. And then the Sangha, which is what I'm emphasizing, and it gets controversial how we see the Sangha. Bernie always liked to call the Sangha harmony. So we're talking about the oneness and the manyness. The oneness is Buddha, the manyness is Dharma, and how they interact. The harmony of the Buddha and Dharma is Sangha, harmony. And then Sangha is seen as the people who practice what the Buddha taught. And Sangha is seen as the lineage, those who have the transmission, join the lineage with Buddha. And again, that's in really Buddhism. We've got the images, we've got the direct teachings of the Buddha, the sutras, and we have those who are in the lineage, who inherit the lineage through the Buddha. But when I think about Sangha, so I talked about what Eric said, Sangha is connectedness. And I think that fits in with Bernie saying harmony. Long ago, I don't know, a few of you might remember Werner Erhard and his teachings, but one thing he said is, and he really stressed in his organization, is the self-realization was the first step. The main step is, the main point is working together. So is the group realization. So in terms of Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, there's, and many of you are practicing because you want to see what Buddha saw. That's the kind of one of the aspirations that we have. And the commentary will say, do you want to see what Buddha saw? Then do Zazen and don't waste a minute and all of that kind of talk. So for myself, I put many years into, I want to see what Buddha saw. I want to have that experience. And then at the point of that experience, we also, we realize everything is Buddha and all the differences of Buddha and everything, person, piece of grass, big fire, global warming, everything is Buddha. And that's relative and absolute. And then so that's another practice to see, like Kosei's one, to see that everything is Buddha, everything is Buddha. But then the practice, the Sangha practice of, it's not so much the realization of we are all Buddha, but the realizing that together, like group realization, group enlightenment, or shared wisdom is one way to talk about it. And so how do we do that? I mean, I think most of us struggle with relationships on one level or another. I was reading Truman Capote for some reason. I went back and started, oh, I know there's that new documentary out. So I went and read some of his work. But one thing he said is, the one thing we will never know is how other people think about us. Something we will never know. Because how many of us really share exactly how we think about each other? And of course, it's constantly changing how we think about each other. But to practice connection, and of course, there is a feeling, there's an experience when you connect, when we connect. I think I feel it most with dancing. Just dancing together, all of a sudden the many selves disappear and the ideas and separation. Or maybe sports. I've never been a team sport person, but I imagine that's a place where you can feel that. Or singing together, hootenannies. That's what we did when I went to college, hootenannies. So cultivating those practices, and counsel is the main practice that we do here, one of the practices we do here to work on that, to find a way of being there, like Eric said, to really be there. So like the realization of Buddha, that Buddha found out sitting all by himself, he found out this is doing that together. To be able to be, and so doing that kind of practice, that kind of zazen, is just to really be yourself, to find out who you are in Buddha. So this practice is to really be another person, to really listen, even though they're idiots and what they're saying doesn't make any sense, even though to really listen, even though it's boring. I mean, it's just the same really as Zazen. It's boring, it's hard, it hurts, it's uncomfortable. We have all sorts of things coming up, just to be with each other. And then there's moments, those of you who've done a lot of counsel practice know, there's moments in counsel where there's just, you know, we call it magical, but it's not magical. It's when we get to the fact that we are one and we're together as one body sharing this moment. So anyway, that's what I want to talk about during the workshop, some training in counsel practice, and which is, it has to do with listening wholly, not like holy, but as one, being one with, not knowing each other, and also learning to express ourselves authentically, to speak from the heart, which means not to spin, not to talk so people like us, not to talk so we seem smart, but to really be authentic to our experience. So that's what we're going to work on. And that's all I have to say. I'm so glad I found my notes. And look at me, I forgot about the practice part. Samanta Bhadra. Anyway, anything to add? Questions, comments?